Welcome to Mommy Making Millions, the podcast. I'm your hostess, Marquitta DaShae, mompreneur mentor, author, and visionary strategist. I help mompreneurs develop balance between their businesses and their babies while attaining generational wealth, simply taking their ideas and helping them to turn it into profitable income. Join me bi-weekly as I put the spotlight on other successful millionaire mompreneurs for them to also share their best business practices and truly unveil what it looks like from the glamorous life to the deep, dark, nitty-gritty life of a mompreneur. I want to be mindful of your time. So I definitely want to welcome everybody back to another episode of Mommy Making Millions, the podcast. I'm super excited. I have been chasing our guests around for... I've been chasing our guests around for probably 4 weeks now, but you know what? I'm going to be honest. I have been chasing a lot of my guests around because you guys are really mommies that are in pursuit of real businesses, not just y'all look good on the outside, right? On social media, but on the back, y'all ain't really got nothing going on. So it's a good, it's a good chase. So I'm going to just jump. So thank you for being very flexible. And y'all, we have to be real quick with our interview because this mommy millionaire is on her way to the airport. And
I know. But y'all, she has been so gracious in all of this because the majority of these free schedules have been my fault with my crazy stuff going on over here and just oversights on my end. So I appreciate you, Marquitta, for just being so understanding and still even being interested after having to reschedule so many times. So thank you.
My pleasure. So you know how the devil works. We're going to talk about that in just a second. I want to go ahead and introduce our guest. She is the founder of the McGee Law Firm, better known as Trademark My Stuff. She's a mommy of 3, just like me, and a wife. So y'all, this is why we're talking about this, right?
Yes.
I love her story. She's going to tell us how she actually got into the law field in just a minute, but she actually was also valedictorian class of 2018 prior to, give yourself, let's talk about that.
Thank you.
I graduated on a wing and a
Yeah, I did too, girl. Trust me. That was all God, because I was just as shocked as the rest of us, okay?
Yes. So without further ado, this is Miss Kyona McGee. If you have not already guessed already, and Kyona, I'm going to be all the way real. What I loved about you, I know we met at the refresher with the Monique Rodriguez, is it Refresh Retreat?
Yeah.
And you were speaking on trademarking my stuff, right? Some things that all of us need to be prioritizing if we are not already trademarked. But what I really fell in love with you as a whole was just your personality of just your story. And I think that in the season of becoming transparent, something that I struggled with very early on is in getting to being where I am now was the effortlessness to be just transparent in a world where people are just showing up looking like they're already successful.
Yeah, that's so true. And honestly, what I learned that was that people love to be a part of the story. And so a lot of marketing books will tell you, tell your story. But the more powerful dynamic is that letting and allowing people to be a part of the story and to go along the journey with you. So of course, we all love a good story. We all love the underdog story and somebody made it or whatever. And those are still powerful. But the more bang for the buck is allowing people to be able to feel like they went on that journey with you or that they were a part of that story as well. And so then it feels like a joint success and not just a solo success that they watched. Still great story, but all the more powerful if people feel like they went along with it for you or along with it with you. And I think that has just been, by the grace of God, just something that my audience, really, if that's what we want to call it, because I don't even know what to call it, but they've been here from the beginning. And so before I went to law school, when I had a different blog, like a lot of people know me from a whole different company, from a t-shirt company. I had a blog first, and we transitioned from the blog to a t-shirt company. Went from the t-shirt company, they watched me get accepted to law school. They watched me matriculate through law school, then to graduation, and now to this. And so they've been here. They've seen, every ounce of the story from studying late nights to, like I said, getting accepted in the first place, just everything. And so I think that has helped a lot of it helped me be transparent, because there wasn't no reason of me trying to fake the funk. They all knew, you know what I mean? They all saw the transition, and they all saw the journey from no kid to one kid to two kids to three. Mm-hmm. And so it just helps me to always keep that in mind as far as quote unquote marketing is concerned. Everything isn't for the gram as far as like, oh, well, let me share this just because, but because they have all been here from the beginning, it's easy for me to continue to share and to tell what's going on, or, you know, what's happening, just because I know people have been here. And some people, you know, everybody isn't, you know, pro you, but some of people really are, you know, supportive of your journey and just truly excited to see you do the next thing or level up or whatever. And so I try to be as transparent as possible and letting people know, you know, every day ain't great, but the great days are great days. And so, you know, that I think that helps. At least it helps me at least.
That's so good. No, that's perfect, because, and it shows like they're, like I said, we're just sitting there and just, you know, getting a feel for who you were. I think that there is this specific glow that aura that was, or I like to call it residue, that was just on you. And I always talk about, at least this season of, this is our first season. And I was like, Lord, how I'm gonna get these people that's busy to work with me? Like how? Yeah. We gotta stop selling ourselves short, because we have to know God is gonna give us the vision. And to just kind of even speak to like me losing my aunt and my cousin, that was probably really, it was really devastating, because part of that, I still had to show up on social media, and it was things that I wanted to tell my community that I couldn't tell my community.
Of course.
We had friends and families, and then you want to look like, you know, you're still just basically just showing up, you know, right?
Yep.
So thank you for mentioning that. I wanted to also talk about just getting back to the drawing board a little bit, because I know I did speak on that most recently. In a part of your story, you talked about how, what was it, the number 21 when you got accepted to law school?
413. 413.
Yes. And I know I was speaking to, I think it was my husband, and I was telling him your story, but can you elaborate just a little bit for those that don't know your story, what that score means, what it meant as it relates to how you actually had to get back to the drawing board to your success and where it's landed you today?
So before you go or enter into law school, you have to take, some people they now accept the another test, but at the time when I was entering law school, you had to take what's called the LSAT test to be able to qualify to get in. And long story short, I bombed the test the first time I took the test, and I was like, Lord, I'm not trying to take this again. Like, this is ridiculous. I mean, the test has nothing to do with the law whatsoever. So, like, I'm not even sure why they have us do this. I was just so upset by it. And I told the Lord, like, you know, I'm going to take this test one more time. And that's it. Like, that's all I got is one more test in me. And so I wanted to do something drastic to let the Lord know, like, I'm serious about this. Like, I want to, you know, create some type of sacrifice so you can see how serious I am about going after this, because I know, you know, this is what you told me. And anywho, I was like, okay, what kind of fast can I do to let the Lord know, like, how serious I am? And long story short, this is not in the Bible. I know I talked about this at the retreat. I do not recommend this to anybody listening, so please do not try this. This was not a good idea. Let me stress that, but this is all I had at the time. And I was like, okay, so what can I eat all week that's going to allow me to show the Lord that I'm serious, but also not die at the same time? I don't want to die, but I want it to be a fast that's going to stretch me physically. And I was like, okay, well, I can fast from all food, but I just need some type of shake or milk or something, some type of liquid that's going to basically keep me alive for the next 7 days. And so I fasted from all food and just drank chocolate milk for 7 whole days. And I mean, like, Nesquik chocolate milk. It probably was the worst type of chocolate milk you can probably buy. I had white milk, and I would make chocolate milk by combining the Nest syrup in there and just mixing it up, and literally had that for 7 days as my fast. And I just like I said, I was trying to do something that would prove to God, like, you know, this is what I want, and this is what I need for you to do. I need to make the score drastically higher than what it is right now so that I can get in, because I needed to make up for my GPA at the time. And so anywho, I took the test again. The scores come out, and the first time I took the test, I got a 141. The second time I took the test, I got a 143. And I needed like a 152. So long story short, I know that doesn't sound far off, but in the score realm, it was way, way off. Mm-hmm. And so I was just devastated. I was so upset at the Lord. I'm like, I did this drastic fast. I did everything I knew how to do. I studied, I did all this, and I still bombed the test. And it's just, I was upset. And so fast forward, I still was like, okay, well, maybe the Lord still wants me to apply, to all these schools, and he wants to just prove to me that, he can do this even with such a low score or something like that. So I still, even at that time, started applying at different schools. Nobody let me in anywhere. And so I was like, okay, well, that's that. I ended up having to get a job. And, I was still working in criminal law, or criminal, as far as criminal world is concerned. I was working with re-entry clients, the people who were coming out of prison, helping them find housing and stuff like that. And so I still was trying to feel like I was somewhere in the arena of the law, but I knew that I wasn't where I wanted to be, because I just wanted to go to law school and be an attorney. And so a couple of years later, it was like 2 years later, my brother-in-law came over. And he was like, yeah, I'm about to go to law school. And I was like, oh, I know this has got to be a joke. Like, this is not happening. I know he is not about to go to law school. This cannot be happening. And I heard the Lord say, call the school tomorrow. And I was like, yeah, right. And I mean, some people, are not able to hear the Lord so clearly, but just as you can hear my voice, I heard the Lord say, call the school tomorrow. And I literally called the school the next day. And I was like, hey, this is Kyona. I applied a couple years ago, just calling to see if anything changed. And honest to God, they were like, a couple of things have changed since you last applied. And I'm like, okay, not thinking it's going to be anything drastic. And she's like, our entry score has changed. What did you get on the LSAT? And I'm like, like, what's the score? I didn't want to tell her what I got. I was just like, let me just see what she gonna say before I have to tell her, what I got, and embarrass myself. And so I was like, no, what's the score now that you have to have? And she was like, all you need is a 143. And I just was like, if you don't remember the other part of the story, that was the score that I got the second time that I took the test after that fast. And I was telling them at the retreat back in the pager days, if you had a pager or a beeper or whatever they wanted to call it, when you text somebody 143, that meant I love you in beeper language. And so as soon as she said 143, I just was like, are you serious? And she said, yeah, what did you get? And I'm like, I got a 143. And so I didn't have to reapply or anything. She just told me, I needed to resubmit a couple of documents just because they were outdated. But other than that, I would be able to start. And so when I hung up the phone, I just cried and cried and cried and cried and cried. And it was mainly because it's so often that, we think that God is not listening, or God is not, moving because it's not happening in our time, or when we feel like it should be happening, when actually it's happening in perfect timing, and it's happening at the time that you're going to need it to happen for it to succeed. But because it didn't happen when we thought it should, we're devastated and we're crushed. That was me. And so, I started at this point, I started law school with a husband, with a daughter, not right out of undergrad like everybody else. And so while the world may look at it and feel like, I was coming in this thing quite backwards at this point, married with a child, and everybody else is in here fresh out of undergrad, the Lord knew. I didn't know at the time, but the Lord knew that I was going to need the husband that I have and the motivation from my daughter to be able to succeed in law school the way that I did. And had I gone when I first got accepted, when I wasn't married and I didn't have a daughter, I would not have been nearly as successful, if at all, in law school as I was once I had them. So thank the Lord. It was a full circle moment, but it just again proves that he knows what he's doing for a reason.
Mm-hmm. I love that, Kyona. Like, I love hearing it all over again. I know for the people that are listening that have not met you yet, because I'm sure they'll be coming your way soon. Like, it's just like, if you don't say anything else, drop any more gems, you've already said enough, because, you know, let's talk about being delayed, you know, but not necessarily denied, and, you know, doing things our way, you know, because I'm one that is guilty of, you know, having a kid and then going back to school to get the degree, or just feel like I had to, you know, do my life out of sequence according to, you know, other people's, you know, the way of the world. Right. Just backing up a little bit, you just like, you know what, now that I do think about it, you know what, God, you just really are just so cold with how you be strategizing some things. And you protect us in such a way, and you block us from some things that when you feel like, okay, not yet, you know, but that doesn't mean that the sacrifice that you had when you was putting your life on the line, Lord have mercy, these chocolate shakes.
That is so true. And he's going to honor it. And it's just like, even if it doesn't look like it in this moment, like, we just have to trust that he is God for a reason. And that even when you said, you know, he protects us from things, and it's a lot of times he's protecting us from ourselves, because if we knew, we'd ruin it. And if he showed us even a glimpse at what's ahead, we try to do it in our own might. And he's like, no, if I wanted you to do it in your own might, then I'd let you, but I'm not. I want to do it in my way, so that you know it wasn't you, it was me. And that you can't take credit for this thing. And it's a humbling thing, because it allows you to never get prideful about going to law school or being accepted or graduating or whatever, because you know it wasn't because of you. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way I could ever start a coaching program on how to get into law school. Sis, I can't tell you. I can't give you nothing. I tried. Okay. It didn't work when I tried it my way. So if you ever need some advice on how to get in, don't ask me, because that ain't how I got it. You know what I mean? And so there's people that can teach that because they believe they did it on their own. That's not going to ever be my story. And so, you know, I just think he has a very strategic way of making sure he gets what he wants out of us, even if that's just the glory for what he's done.
That's it. I love that. Now y'all see why I was like, okay, we're going to wait on you, Kyona. We're going to wait on this podcast. Because, you know, it's just, it has to, and I always tell the community, like, you know what, it's not, this platform is just not for me. It's not about me at all. I'm just doing what God is revealing to me in this season. And even with like the stuff that I've been through this week, it's been only by his grace. Like, people just will have like no clue, like the stuff that I've been through. And I'm like, okay, God, I know the blessings is coming, because I still trust you in the season where it's like Marilyn says, you know, I'm still trusting you when I can't track you. And I think with being a mommy millionaire, it's not so much that we look at and we focus on the millions, but I will say, with being a teen mom, with living paycheck to paycheck, trying to break generational curse off my own life to wanting more and wanting bigger for myself, that millionaire mindset and that millionaire legacy says that I can do more and I can have more, because I serve a God that's bigger, right? And I can't get to that next level until I first acknowledge him and who this platform is for. So I'm like real particular about who comes and speak to our lady. So I want to jump into this. You have a post you just put up probably 2 days ago. First of all, okay, you look so bomb. You always look bomb, big on fashion. I don't know if you know, I have a boutique called House of Divas that, you know what, it's just on prayer pause. That's what we're going to say. It's on a prayer pause. Because I do feel like God is giving me new direction with it. But I have this love of fashion. So I always look at just the fashion and the women. And I always tell you how I love your brand, the effortlessness that you display. It's not, you're not trying to be nobody else. This is just what it is. And honey, you be coming with the work slate all day, every day. Okay, it's a part of the brand at this point. Like, what is Kyona? What is she wearing? Like, what is the dream team look like at this point? Because you slaying.
Thank you, girl.
Up, and it's like, I'd rather let you think you're one up on me than show you my hand. I'm gonna take the time to read these 3 nuggets that you gave, because I think that it's important for them to see it. If they would go to this photo, this what you got on it's a complete power pose, right?
Yeah.
It's complete power pose. Like I do feel like at this point we are very well connected. You are stuck with Marquitta DaShae for life at
Thank
this
you.
point.
I would love to be stuck with Marquitta DaShae. Okay.
Stuck. And I was telling the community that I now look at them as sisters. So I'm gonna be saying sister more. And the reason for that is because in the middle of what I'm currently going through, I never felt like I could be as transparent as I could, but I've been able to bounce back on this community. And you know what? Y'all are like pushing me back up. Y'all like, you got this.
Yeah, you do. You do.
So,
you do. I mean, there's only one other alternative, and that ain't an option.
That ain't an option. Like,
so you got this then. That's it. That's it.
So double nuck if you buck if this is
exactly.
So yeah, so I have all brothers and all boys. So I was like, I need some sis. So I'm gonna build the community. But you have winning and looking like you're winning is two completely different things. Here are a few nuggets to make sure you're actually winning in every scenario, right? One, you need to keep a good lawyer in your circle that will show up to any meeting with you, ensure that you're never getting played. Okay. First of all, don't know Kyona's trademark, her stuff she does. She's not just a trademark attorney, period. Okay. Two, she says having a holding company, LLC, that holds your assets so that they're separate from your personal liability in one place for your kids later. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. We talk about mommy making millions. We're not talking about hustling out here, y'all. We ain't talking about hustling. Okay. Then number three, Kyona, you got on here. Number three, you're gonna hit a little different. Okay. So if you're driving, take the time to pull over, or just whatever you're doing. So number three says stop negotiating with yourself. Ooh. Yeah. The idea that you have is worth millions. And I love that because I'm always with strategy. I'm always saying y'all sitting on $1 million ideas. Y'all just don't know what to do with them. Yeah. You say you're being so busy doubting yourself and comparing yourself to someone else that you haven't been committed like you swore you would. No one is coming to save you. And once you just the game change. Boom. You got to get up, get out, get some. No, you didn't say that part, but
it fit though. It fit right in.
It did. And it said, get out, get to work, get up, get out here and work like it's up to you, but pray like it's up to God. He'll cover you from there.
Yep. And the thing is, Mark, I'm not a wordsmith by no means, but I only try to share what I know is fact, what I know is true, what I've experienced myself, what I know without a shadow of a doubt. And that's exactly what that is that once you decide, like, nobody's going to come and knock on my doorstep tomorrow and give me $3 million and say, hey, I want you and your kids to be set. That's not happening. You know what I mean? That's not happening. You're not, the chances of you marrying some rich man and him coming and just changing your whole life like Pretty Woman, sis. If you wake up tomorrow and decide he don't like you no more, then there goes that fairy tale dream. Like, let's just cut the crap. At the end of the day, I'm not trying to marry well or up or whatever. I want to make sure that I am in the will of God, whatever that looks like. And that's the richest, safest, most secure place I can be. And for some that may not be wealthy, that may not be wanting to be a millionaire, that may not be wanting to be an entrepreneur, that very well may just be a healthy family, that may just mean peace in your home, that may just mean that you want to be able to have children because you're not, whatever richness and wealth looks like to you, or whatever success looks like to you, it's between you and God. And that's it. Like, there's no other body or no other being that's going to help facilitate that. But you have to be a participating party. There's only so much somebody can do for you. And at the end of the day, it's going to be between you and God. Nobody's coming to save you.
Sorry.
And if I tell myself that every morning, I'm going to get up and I'm going to do something about it because there ain't nobody coming. Nobody's coming. Nobody.
That's it, y'all. I told y'all if she say nothing else, she done already gave us the gems. That's so good, and that just goes back to faith without works is dead. So that's why I had to I was sitting here looking through, I had to take the moment to just read that because that was for somebody. And it just definitely does follow along with just who we are and who we are trying to become. It's not going to always be easy, and it's not going to always look like glitter and gold. But if you stay and you do and you keep going and you trust God in this process, y'all are going to get to that millions or whatever wealth looks like or success looks like for you. So don't stop it. She's the living testimony, y'all. Okay.
This is true. It is really true. It really is.
So in the meantime, while they're on their process of becoming, and we need to be protecting our intellectual value as well as our trademark name.
Yeah. Yes. And honestly, this is all you have that makes you different. Everybody has watched Shark Tank. We all know, the first thing Mr. Wonderful gonna ask is what is proprietary about this? What makes you different? What makes you, any different than the next person that's probably doing the same thing? There's nothing new under the sun. We all know that. And as soon as you do invent something new, somebody's coming to make their version of it real quick. And so you have to be able to make whatever makes you or makes you special or different. You have to make sure you own that. And a lot of times with our community, it's not protected. And then somebody else of a fairer shade comes along, creates it themselves, and then it pops up and it's in Target or it's here or it's there. And now all of a sudden we're whining and crying about what happened. And it's like, hey, they know the game. And they've known the game for a long time. And they've had the resources also, let me not add that, to make sure that they go about it the way that we should have. And it's an unfortunate thing, but I truly believe that the field is leveling at this point. And the more knowledge that we acquire, the more information we gather, the more we are intentional about going about business and life the right way and the legal way, the more we're being intentional about leveling the playing field. And I know for a fact, all of us have gifts and talents and ideas and brands that are more than worth protecting. It's just the fact that we haven't known the importance of a trademark. A lot of times we've confused a trademark for an LLC, and that's not the case. A trademark is here to make sure that you own this brand name that you're protecting more so than anything else. It's not an email list. It's not, filing an LLC in your state. An LLC in your state is just going to let your state know that you're in business and that they can expect their taxes from you under this particular name, but it doesn't give you any ownership of that particular brand. Somebody else in Georgia can come along and start a brand with that same name while you're in Michigan, and it's not going to be a conflict whatsoever. And so we have to make sure that we're going through all of the steps necessary to make sure we're covered on every front. I'll tie this in really quickly. I was watching Shark Tank today. There was an older episode on, and it was called Browndages, and it was Band-Aids, but it was for, the skin colors. And I know this came out years ago because I remember this brand from years ago. And this was a Shark Tank episode from 2020. I just now watched it, and Mr. Wonderful kept saying over and over again, there's this idea is a great idea. It's all for brown and darker skin tones instead of just having that ugly same color that Band-Aids usually come in. But the real essence of what this brand is, it falls in the name. The name is so unique. The name is what's amazing. I mean, the Band-Aids are great, but the name is what makes this thing amazing. And so he said that over and over and over again. And I think that a lot of times we sleep on ourselves in regard to our own creativity, and we are like, oh, that's cute. No, it's more than cute. It's coins involved. There's money there. And I think if we knew how amazing and how creative we really are, we'd catch on before they do, instead of them looking at our stuff and they're like, oh, that's a real moneymaker. Let me go trademark it while they're not looking. And now all of a sudden, you get a cease and desist for something that was really yours to begin with, but because you didn't protect it or didn't know how, or felt like you had time, someone else has swooped in, protected it, and now it's no longer available to you, and you have to, stop the business that really was yours to begin with.
I love it. And I like the fact that you spoke to, basically we're shrinking ourselves with thinking, oh, like, okay, our business, it isn't where we think it's at now, but maybe it'll get there, right? No,
exactly. Yeah.
open up the gate, like come out the gate. Some of us, even before we actually even launch our business, need to be protecting our business because it's just that important. And then we're spending time, you know, and adding and investing into something that somebody else can take. Can you imagine somebody taking your stuff from you and they got the rights to do so? Because
and honestly, that's the sexy part. I mean, I get it. You know, everybody loves a cute logo or getting their colors scheme back or their brand palette. I mean, that's the sexy part about building a business. We're all guilty of it, but at the same time, don't invest these thousands of dollars into a brand or an agent or a coach or whatever, and you don't own it. You haven't even started the you can file what's called an intent to use application, even if you know you're not going to launch for a little while. It's going to be another year or so. You can still hold on to the name, file the paperwork to file an intent to use application, so that when you do get ready, it's still there. Otherwise, you've done all of this to no avail if somebody goes and discovers it or thinks of it on their own before you actually go file. And it's, again, we're all guilty of it. I get it. It's the sexy fun part of coming up with a business, but it also, there's a necessary part that we have to pay attention to, or at least hire somebody else to pay attention to when we don't want to. Otherwise, it could all be for nothing.
And I'm guilty of that. And I think that's why I was like, you know what, let's get Kyona on here and let's talk about it, because I've spent $1,300 on branding, a website. I've spent money on coaches. But if I had the opportunity, which I'm hoping one of our listeners have the opportunity, while you have the money, while you have the income, I always talk about how I'm an income tax baller. Well, I was an income tax baller. Every year I was finding ways to fund my business through my income tax. So but when we do have opportunities like that, like if that is you, if you're in a season where that is how you're funding your business out of your pocket right now, until you get to that next level, let's be smart and strategic about how we're spending and how we're protecting. Because right now, you know, do you want a cute website, a cute logo, or do you really want to be able to invest in your business on a level of thinking sustainable, right? Because we're going to talk about sustainability in just a second, and really what that looks like in the next 3 to 5 years from now. But how to be proactive, right, instead of becoming reactive during that process. So
that's so true. That is so true.
I really love that. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about with you was how you do remain innovative and creative. And with your law firm, I see the new, the digital technology, the digital ads that you have, the animation ads that's going on now. And I'm gonna be honest, I love it.
Oh, thank you.
Here's why. So when you talked about, you know, basically our brand propositional value and us doing things different from our competitors, right? As a business growth strategist, one of the things that I focus on the back end is strategy execution. And in the process, 70% of business owners fail in the areas where corporate businesses fail in the areas of strategy execution because of XYZ, right? And in the process of that, let me make this super quick, but in the process of that, what is to be said is a lot of roadblocks that comes into play, or a lot of reason a lot of businesses aren't around today is because they are not remaining innovative, they're not remaining creative, and they're not looking at the longevity of their businesses, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And so why am I making this point? When I saw your ad, I think about the metaverse that we're getting ready to go through. I think about the simplification that we're getting ready to go through. And I'm hoping that some of you ladies start seeing it. Just go to her website. If you're on Facebook, you'll probably start seeing, because I think you have a whatever it is on the back end, but just check her out, ladies. And so we have to be able to put ourselves in position of how can we continue to evolve and not stay or remain complacent, and how can we continue to go back and be better than what our competition is actually even. How can we differentiate ourselves within the marketplace? And so when I saw that, it automatically made me think about just how innovative and just how, where you were positioned mentally for where you see the McGee law firm going in the future.
So honestly, when we first began, I had no idea that it was going to be as large as it is. And it was not my goal at the beginning. Again, when I set out and said what success looked like to me at the very beginning, I was leaving a job where, again, I was helping with prisoner reentry. And at the time I was making $55,000 a year. And I thought, okay, if I can just replace this income with my own income on my own and make the same amount doing things on my own by myself, I'll be happy with that. That was the goal at the beginning, was to just pull in 55,000. And again, that can be my goal because that's what success looked like for me at the time. That was sufficient for me. I had a husband who also worked full time. We had two children at the time. We were doing just fine based on what I wanted for me, what peace looked like for me. And so that was the goal. The goal has since grown because now the response, the growth, the investment in this, what this brand has become, has matriculated and grown beyond what I could have ever asked God for at the time, because that just wasn't what I was asking him for. But instead, he's decided to send us more and more clients than I could have ever imagined. I don't know how these people are finding us, but I'm grateful for it. And so to try to be a good steward over what he's given, I've also tried to continue to invest in myself in regard to education, to business, to branding, to marketing, to all of these different things, to make sure that I'm staying ahead of not myself, but educated and training mentally to be a good steward over this. If he's sending me these people and these clients and these employees, I want to make sure that I'm being a good steward over that. I would not be a good steward at this point if I still was like, hey, well, I'm cool if we just do 55,000 still a year, because that's no longer going to cover, not even my salary, nevertheless, the 10 full-time people that we have working here. That's not good stewardship at this point. At this point, if I want this to be able to continue to grow, if I want this to still be a reflection of God and what he can do and what he has done, I have to continue to make sure that this thing is growing and also still being elevated and shown in a way that it reflects excellence and not just, where we were 3-4 years ago. We could have kept everything the same, but that would not have justified, or that would not have given respect or honor to what he's grown for us to do. And so the video that you're referring to online, that video was a lot more money than I'd like to ever admit. But at the same time, I felt like this is what I wanted to do for my brand. I wanted to be able to set us apart from the other trademark attorneys that are out there. I mean, all of us can do photo shoots wearing navy blue.
Tell it. I'm sorry, I had to say that.
Because it seems like that's what we're all doing now. I'm not really sure where we got that trend from, but anyway, it really looks like everybody's doing photo shoots in navy blue now. And it's just like, okay, the time is up for that. I don't want people to just come to trademark my stuff just because of Kyona. I want them to come to trademark my stuff because of the experience that they're getting here. And so that video doesn't speak to Kyona at all. It doesn't say, have a character or cartoon that looks like me, myself. It is truly to be reflective of the brand, because I want this brand to be bigger than me. I want this brand to outgrow me. I want it to be, a household name in a sense that is known for protecting minority creativity. And it's not just based on myself. If I die tomorrow, I want this brand to be able to carry on. It's bigger than me now. And again, I don't want to look like all the other trademark attorneys out here, because I don't want to be compared or in the same arena as them. And so to set myself apart, I knew that the growth and the investments that it's going to take to get me there, they're not going to be comfortable. But if you go to my website versus any other trademark attorney's website that we look like the same, I'm going to say it that way, there's going to be something that is a clear difference from the very homepage. And that is my goal at the end of the day. And so that's genuinely where it came from, is just truly trying to always be a good steward over what you've been given. And so if you only invest in your business when you get tax money, baby, I think it's the profits, the growth, the trajectory that you're taking over the years, plural, it's going to show that's the only time that you invested it. You know what I mean? Like It's going to be obvious, because there's not as much growth there that could be if you were to take it more serious. If you were to get up at 5 a.m. and I'm not a 5 a.m. person, don't get me wrong. I might do that every blue moon if I got something really pressing on my spirit, but that's not an everyday thing for me. But I know some other entrepreneurs who are mommy millionaires who do that. They get up every day at 5. They got plenty of kids too. And so they're doing it because they know that's their only quiet time. You got to do it, whatever you got to do. But I think it's always your business is always going to show who's working and who's not, who's investing and who's not, who's just like, okay, let me take some more cute pictures and that's all it's going to take. That's not all it's going to take. Cute pictures that's fun, but it's going to take a little bit more than that and a lot more creativity and elbow grease to set yourself apart, because I believe our audience is a lot more sophisticated than just being able to be swayed by cute pictures. They're going to need more than that and be able to see that you care much more deeply than just having everybody wear navy blue.
That's it, y'all.
Yeah.
You know what? I had like 2 more questions, Kyona. What you just said was just it, honey. And I am one of those 5 a.m. moms because it is quiet time for me. But I do like the perspective of, you know what, I'm not this, but if it requires this, then this is what I'll do. I like when you talked about the competitor analysis. You know, what differentiates me as a brand is, number one, first of all, my goal. And that's truly important. So please don't miss anything that Kyona is truly saying, y'all. Please listen to this episode, rewind it, let it marinate, come back to it and listen to it again, because she's truly showing you what it takes to be successful. Her track record is showing that she's successful. And you know what she's saying? I'm stepping out of the box. Number one, I don't even want to be in the same arena with some of these other people.
No.
Okay. So, and that speaks volumes, you know, and I that speaks volumes about you, Kyona, and it also should be the mark for other mommy millionaires. And that is not to say that we're holier than thou, but you know what? I want to be solely just, I don't want you to be able to, I'm just not them girls. So
yeah. And honestly, it's not, like you said, it's not a pride thing or arrogant thing. It's just, it's saying that I want to offer something where you can't compare me to somebody else, because when you really look at everything lined up together, they're not offering what I'm offering. It's like a clear distinction. You know what I mean? Right. It's like whether you're flying Delta or Spirit. No, I'm not calling nobody else Spirit Airlines, so please don't take that and run with it. I'm just using this as an example that I'm saying, as far as what these 2 airlines are offering, you're not asking for the same experience on Delta that you're asking for at Spirit. Yes, they both are airlines, but they're not asking for the same experience. Right. It's 2 completely different things. So although, again, the planes both have 2 wings on the side, there are similarities there at the nuts and the bolts of it. But when it comes down to the experience that you're looking for, they're 2 completely different things. And so I think even if Delta was like a private airline jet, or an airline that only did private airlines or private, you know, celebrities or whatever else, again, it's an airline, but depending on, you know, what you're looking for, it's 2 completely different experiences. And so I just mean that in that regard, not to say that I'm better. I just want to make sure that it's a clear distinction, that there's a different experience that you're getting over here versus what you'd be looking for, where the clientele that would actually go there would never come over here. And vice versa. Like, it's a clear thing. It's a clear cut where our two markets would never compete with each other because they're not looking for the same things.
That's it. Bam. Yeah. And I know we don't have time to go over it, but clearly what you're talking about, especially from a world of strategy execution, is setting clear boundaries and also having that belief system in place to help keep you guided, so that when you do things like spend more money, like you said, way more money than you want to, it's still aligning. It's still aligning with the strategy. So you're okay with coloring, doing something a little bit different because you know where it's going to get you as compared to, what your target market or who you're trying to, target or market to. So you're in alignment with your success of, future alignment. So the last thing I want to talk about, Kyona, you have a Bible study Zoom link. Can we talk about that?
Yeah. And so this is one of those things, again, that I think is completely different than what somebody else is doing, and what probably other attorneys would probably never do, because they don't want to really mix their personal beliefs and business and all of that stuff together. I don't subscribe to that whatsoever. And so a strong part of who I am is a believer. And I have to tell everybody that for me, no matter what business I'm running, the message that I'm trying to get across is always going to be the same. So whatever business I'm fronting, it's really just the front to introduce you to Christ. And so whether it's I'm selling you a trademark or a t-shirt, I'm really hoping at the end of the day to introduce you to Christ in some sort of way. And that's really what that is. And so every Wednesday night at 7:30, We have a Bible study. We pick some type of devotional from a different Christian woman usually, but it can be anybody, honestly. And we read it together, walk through it together. And it's not a session where somebody's teaching everybody else something. We're genuinely all reading the same book and just sharing what our insights were from that week's reading. It literally lasts maybe 15, 20 minutes. We're off and we see each other next week. And so it's truly for accountability more than anything. Of course, we want to read, we want to hold each other accountable to being intentional about spending some time with God, but then knowing that if we don't, there's a Wednesday coming up and we're going to be the one person that didn't read that week. And so anywho, all that to say that that's genuinely what it's there for, accountability to make sure that we are intentional about spending time with Christ and learning more and more about him, and not just swearing that we're all about the business. And if he gave us that business, how would we look if we were never, intentional about giving something back to him, especially our time?
I love it. I love it, Kyona. Thank you so much for
doing
this interview with us today. Tell everyone where they can actually find you, because after this, I know they're going to be looking for you.
Thank you so much. So I'm always on Instagram, of course, at Kyona the Lawyer. But if you're looking for our professional services, please feel free to reach out to us at trademarkmystuff.com. Or if you want to shoot us an email about any questions or any things that we've talked about in general, you can contact us at hello@trademarkmystuff.com.
Perfect. And I will make sure that your information is in our podcast notes so that they can easily access that.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to seeing you. I hope your family is doing at least a smidge better this upcoming week than last week, and I'll definitely be praying for you guys.
Thank you so much, Kyona. We appreciate that. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode. I'm so excited that we were able to go ahead and share and drop some gems with you. If this episode was helpful, please, if you haven't already done so, leave us a review underneath this podcast episode. Share us on social media, screenshot this, tag us. We definitely want to make sure we are connecting with those of you out in the Mommy Making Millions community. And so be sure to tag us, drop us a review, and just show us some love. You definitely want to make sure that you are pouring back in as we're pouring back out to you ladies. Also, you have the opportunity to definitely support this episode by actually doing small donations to the Mommy Making Million podcast. If you like hearing information and gems dropped to help us stay just pretty much just in business, I guess. Whatever you decide, we appreciate it. From one Mommy Millionaire to another. Stay tuned until next time.